Today on Judge Faith, what was left of their relationship was destroyed with their eviction.
When they got there, they knocked real hard. I got scared and I was like, who's knocking so hard? He said, we gotta go, Stephanie, we're getting evicted.
We got a 5-day notice. I hid it from her, so I didn't stress her out. I was pulling money out of her bank account and putting it in my pocket and not paying the rent.
This is why you have to be careful who you have children with.
Faith Jenkins. Her distinguished legal career began when she graduated first in her law school class. She quickly became a tough New York City prosecutor and then a preeminent legal analyst on cable news. And now she's the judge in her own courtroom. Her cases are real and her rulings are final. She is Judge Faith. Plaintiff Stephanie Guevara is suing the father of her children for the value of her lost belongings after he caused their eviction. Defendant Tommy Kandia says when he suspected his ex of cheating, he stopped caring about paying the rent.
Remain seated and come to order. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Faith Jenkins presiding. Your Honor, we have Guevara versus Kandia.
Thank you, Barbara. Stephanie Guevara?
Yes.
You are suing the defendant, Tommy Kandia?
Yes, correct.
For $3,925 you say he owes you for the value of your belongings and repossession fees?
Correct.
How do you know Mr. Kandia?
I know Mr. Kandia from the time I was 14. I met him then, and when I turned 15, a year later, we started dating. From there...
How did the two of you meet at 14 years old?
I met him through a friend. He would call her often while I was at her house, and that's how I got introduced to him.
So you were 14, you were a freshman in high school, I'm assuming. What about you?
Graduated.
Graduated from high school, so you were just into freshman?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
After a year of the phone calls, that's when we actually decided to get together and, meet and do all this stuff. And
how old were you at the time?
18.
You were 18, okay. So the two of you started dating.
We started dating, and about the time I turned 16, we moved to Missouri, and I got pregnant with my first daughter. I had her when I was 17.
So you moved from where?
California to Missouri.
What did your parents think about that?
I didn't have my parents around very much.
Mm-hmm. So at 16 years old, you moved to Missouri, and as I understand it, the two of you have been on and off ever since then, and you're how old now?
26.
How old are the children?
We have a 9-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 5-month-old.
A 4-month-old? 5-month-old. Mm-hmm. Have the two of you ever been married?
No.
Okay.
We were in Missouri for a little while. I was working, he was working, we were doing, a good job. We had a house, not a house, but an apartment, a car. Things were going good for us. Sometime in December 2005, it was the first time Thomas and I had a verbal altercation. We were just, I had found out he had lied to me about going to work. He wasn't at work, and the only reason why I ended up finding out was because he had said he was gonna come home for lunch, and he didn't show up. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, maybe something happened to him. It's snowing out there. Maybe he slid and ran into something, I don't know. So after several attempts of calling him on his cell phone, I called his job. I wanted to make sure he was okay, and they told me he never showed up. It was gonna be bad for him because he called in, and now I'm calling to see where he's at.
So where was he?
Where were you, tell me?
Sitting outside of the apartment in my car.
When was this?
In 2006, December 2006.
So what was going on? Why were you sitting outside in the car?
Just finding stuff out while I'm working overnight. It's an overnight job, so I'm finding out she's talking to other guys while I'm working overnight.
What's going on with the two of you now? Are the two of you still together?
Not right now.
Okay, when did the relationship end?
A little bit after we had the baby.
After what happened in September, that's when I'm just, it's done.
And that's what this case is about, what happened in September and with the eviction.
Right.
What's been going on over the last several years with your relationship?
Just me being away from my kids, leaving them, not there for them.
Why is that?
Just I felt betrayed, being at work, working so hard and finding out she's with guys, coming home with hickeys on her neck. I'm not gonna work hard to support her and be there for my kids. I'm not gonna do it. I'll get myself in trouble.
You're saying that there have been issues of infidelity on her part over
Correct.
the last several years,
Correct.
and you have left, but then changed your mind to come back.
Due to the
and
fact my daughter calling me, my oldest daughter,
But
asking
she
where
was
I'm
a
at,
baby, so she wasn't
so-
calling you.
she would call you and say what?
wondering where I'm at.
What do you have to say about that?
I was working during the day, sleeping at night. I had a baby to take care of, so I don't understand where I would have left her. And that's why sometimes I feel like he would make these stories up in his mind just to not have that responsibility.
When the two of you were living together this past year, where were you living?
In Las Vegas,
Did you have an apartment or a house?
we had an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment. It was in his name.
How much was the rent?
$510 a month.
And who paid for the security deposit?
I did.
Who was paying the rent in the apartment?
Both
We
of
both
us.
were.
Both of you were working at the time?
Yes.
What were you doing for a living?
I was doing timeshare management administration for the company. I had actually gotten him a job there in October 2013. Beforehand, he wasn't even working. He would stay home and watch the girls.
How
while I
long was he
working.
out of work and staying home watching the kids?
Approximately a year. I wanna say.
Was that by choice or were you looking for work?
By choice, collecting
Okay.
unemployment,
Okay.
trying to be there for the kids.
You said that he has a pattern of leaving you and the kids when he gets upset, and it has nothing to do with infidelity. It's just a pattern of what he does.
I think he does it, again, so that the responsibility is lessened on his part.
How many times would you say he's done that since you were 15 years old, 16
3
years
times.
old? And when he leaves, who takes care of the kids?
I do.
And that responsibility falls
Completely on me. Financially, physically being there, it's all me.
it's your testimony that you've never been unfaithful in this relationship.
I've never been unfaithful to him.
Coming up, you can't have it both ways in Judge Faith's court.
You just told me you didn't give her, you hid the notice from her because you didn't want to stress her out. 30 seconds later, you tell me you think it was okay because of how she was dealing with you and cheating on you, so which is it?
Plaintiff Stephanie Guevara says her ex-boyfriend caused their eviction and she's suing for the cost of her belongings. Defendant Tommy Kandia says the plaintiff was cheating on him.
Now I want you to talk about why you filed this lawsuit over an eviction that took place earlier this year.
So I'm gonna take you to the 23rd of September 2014 because that's when I was first aware of the eviction. When the constable, apartment manager, and maintenance came, they knocked while I was about to get into the shower for an interview because I had lost my job due to the repossession that happened on the 8th of September.
What repossession?
My car had gotten repossessed on the 8th of September. During the time of my disability, which was from May 11th to July 31st, 2014, I was on disability because I had my daughter had a C-section. And
So you weren't working during that time period?
right, and I was on Oxycontin because the pain was so bad. So a lot of the time, I was home with my kids, but also very limited.
How many months were you behind on rent when the eviction happened?
A month and a half.
I hear it was 2.
How long had you lived in this apartment?
I lived in that apartment for about 9 months, 10 months.
Was it a one-year lease?
It was 11 months.
A 1-year lease.
You say the first time you found out that you were being evicted was the day that the sheriff showed up?
Yeah.
What happened when they got there?
When they got there, they knocked real hard. I got scared and I was like, who's knocking so hard? He runs to the door and he opens it and there's nobody there. I guess the constable had walked around our apartment. That's when Thomas had caught him, and asked him what was going on. And he came back and he said, we have to go. And I was a little confused. I said, Tommy, why are they saying we have to go? And now the apartment manager's behind him, maintenance is over there playing with the doorknob. What's going on? He said, we gotta go, Stephanie, we're getting evicted.
And how long did they give you to get your things and get out of the apartment?
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Okay, and have you been back since to collect the rest of your belongings?
No.
Why not?
I just don't have the money to. get out there.
So you get evicted, and you vacate the premises within 15 minutes, and you never go back to get your things?
Right.
And you're suing him over the value of your lost furnishings. Why do you think he's responsible for the value of your lost furnishings, as you described them here?
Because I was the only one working prior to October 2013. A lot of that furniture did come from me working on my own. And the fact that I can't get my stuff back is one, because I don't have the money to get it back, to go back out there like he said. I also am not on the lease, so I wouldn't be able to go and show ID to get my stuff out without him being there.
When did you find out that you were going to be evicted? And how did you find out?
We got a 5-day notice. I hid it from her, so I didn't stress her out. I was pulling money out of her bank account and putting it in my pocket and not paying the rent.
So you got a 5-day notice that you were going to be evicted. How did they give you the notice?
On the door.
It was posted on the door, so you took the notice off of the door?
Yes.
Okay.
And I hid it from her.
Because you didn't want to stress her out?
Or because of kids.
So
too.
you think the easier way to handle it was for the
not telling
sheriff to
somebody.
show up the day of, and she have 15 minutes to get her things out of the apartment?
Yep.
15 minutes with you and your 3 kids. You think that was the easier solution?
To me, yes.
That's outrageous.
I feel okay with it because of how I feel she was doing me. You know, how I feel she was doing
Well,
something
why don't
behind
we
my
just
back.
put her to the side and we talk about your 3 kids? Your 5-month-old that was in the apartment, a 9-year-old, and your other child. You're okay with that?
I guess
with them
so.
having 15 minutes to get their things and get out of the apartment with nowhere to go, you're okay with that?
I guess I felt that she was betraying me, so I mean, I couldn't have taken my kids. She won't let me take my kids.
So just because you have an inflated ego and you think another woman is doing you wrong, you're not thinking about your kids, you're just thinking about yourself.
I mean,
you say, because let me tell you, you just told me you hid the notice from her because you didn't want to stress her out. 30 seconds later, you tell me you think it was okay because of how she was dealing with you and cheating on you. So which is it?
I mean, I love
You
my
either
kids.
cared too much and made a stupid decision, or you didn't care, you don't care anything about your kids. Which is it?
I love my kids. I made a stupid decision, but I'm not allowed to take my kids. If I try to take my kids, she'll stop me, and I don't want that
No.
confrontation.
Don't answer the question you want to answer. I want you to answer my question.
Yeah, I shouldn't have done it.
Unbelievable. This is why you have to be careful who you have children with. You understand?
I understand now. It took a lot of
Because any man that would do that to their kids, their children, you have a baby, it's an issue. You have a problem.
Coming up on Judge Faith, the trust issues run deep.
We had gone out to a strip club that he and some coworkers have been to before, and it seemed to be that all the girls there knew him.
Plaintiff Stephanie Guevara is suing her ex-boyfriend for lost belongings after an eviction. Defendant Tommy Kandia says she didn't deserve his trust and effort.
What happens, ma'am?
So yeah, we did take off in the car together. At one point, we ended up going to Circus to kill time because I didn't know what I was going to do with my girls. We took them there so that
It was
way.
casino.
Yeah, so they can
Okay.
watch the circus performance because they have trapeze and all this stuff going on upstairs where they have the kids' arcade. So I took them there so they could watch it. My daughters were focusing on that while I'm, thinking to myself, what am I doing? What am I going to do? Because I know that I'm not going to come back with him.
What do you have to say about, you said that you were taking money and that you were supposed to be using that money to pay rent and you were doing something else with it. Explain yourself.
Gambling. And then when this
So that's
day,
why the rent wasn't being paid?
Yep. And then when this day happened, that's when I went to my mom's house, and and that's when she would call me crying. What do you do? And I'd start laughing at her over the phone, and then I'd hear my 9-year-old in the background, and that's when my emotions would turn. But when I would hear her, it wouldn't bother me at all, just because I felt she was betraying me behind my back.
I'm just, I'm frankly a little stunned right now.
Why is that?
Because I think you're an idiot. That's why.
He wasn't only gambling. For his birthday, we had gone out to a strip club that he and some coworkers have been to before. And it was my first time being there. I went along for his birthday to celebrate his birthday, and it seemed to be that all the girls there knew him. So
let me ask you a question. Why is he in charge? Because you've known him for, how long have you known him? A long
12
time.
years.
You know his history. You have 3 kids. Why is he the person in charge of paying the rent? Why do you have no clue that the rent is not being paid? Why is he the person in charge of taking care of that responsibility?
Because the lease was in his name. As far as the car,
But he's not responsible. And surely the first time you caught wind of this was not when you were evicted earlier this year.
Yeah, he's never taken money like that from us. And that's why I still let him do the financial part of it.
Do you have a gambling problem?
I don't think so.
Because I'm just curious, because I would think that a man who chooses to gamble versus paying rent to keep a roof over the heads of his 3 children probably has a problem. Either you have a problem or you don't care. Either way, it's a problem. And all I keep hearing you say is, she was betraying me, she was doing this, she was doing that. Well, let me tell you something. You're a grown man. You have brought 3 children into this world. At some point, it's not even about her, it's about them and your responsibility as a grown man and being their father, your responsibility as a grown man being their provider, your responsibility as a grown man to help raise those children. And I am baffled by the fact that you are standing before me clueless. And you have a 5-month-old with him? Where do you live now?
North Hollywood?
You still working?
Yep.
Are you paying child support?
No.
Take him to court.
I definitely am.
And now, Judge Faith rules.
I feel sorry for a man who can do what you did to your family and then not even care afterwards. And that's what I see here today. I see a person who doesn't really care. I feel sorry for you. I realize when you entered into this relationship, you were just a child yourself at 15, 16 years old, but you gotta be a grown-up now. You have 3 kids you have to look out for. You have to be the grown-up and take care of those kids. You cannot rely on him to be there and do that. So here's what I'm going to do. You wrote in your complaint that one of the things that you lost was your cosmetology kit. And that's something that you can use to start getting yourself back on track and pursue a career in a profession that will allow you to take care of your 3 kids. And you wrote that the value of that cosmetology kit is $1,500.
Yeah, that's depreciated value, but
I'm going to order you to pay her the value of the cosmetology kit. You have a 5-month-old with this individual, with the defendant over here, so you've got some choices you need to make. You have some choices you're going to have to make. I hope that the 2 of you can do what's best for your children, because they are the most important people that you chose to bring into this world. Do you understand that? You made that choice to bring those children into this world. You need to man up and take some responsibility. Judgment for the plaintiff, $1,500.
If you or someone you know has a dispute, don't take the law into your own hands. Let Judge Faith rule on it for you. To submit your case, go to judgefaith.com and tell us your story. See you in court.